Hi, I'm Garm1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with Ettin. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm all right. It's 6 o'clock here in Sydney, so
It's 1 in the morning here. Time zones are great.
yeah, I was wondering what time it would be for you because this is not normally when people in your time zone are asking me to do stuff.
Yeah, I don't sleep very much, or at least I don't sleep at normal times.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, you're here today to talk about Breakfast Cult, so why don't you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
All right. So breakfast cult. I'm just gonna. That's the other reason I put this in my wall of crap so I can pull it out of here. So breakfast cult is a cosmic horror slash high school mystery tabletop RPG. It uses the Fate system, and I kickstarted it in 2015, I believe, if that's right. Yeah, it's also ended up with a few expansion books. There's what that that one's like some video game themed stuff. That's it. This Peer Pressure, Sample Adventure, and Sweet Shove and Hella Photep, which is like Lovecraft things.
Lovecraft and
Yeah,
also a little bit of Homestuck, yeah.
yeah. I happen to think it's pretty nifty.
Yeah, um,
Yeah,
yeah, and it's kind of like, Lovecraft, Persona, anime mashup kind of thing.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So,
Just making sure that doesn't actually fall off my desk when I let go. There we go.
yeah, it's been about 5 years of work on that, and
Yeah, on and off.
yeah, and there were supposed to
Yeah,
be a couple more books, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. All right. So the history of the Kickstarter. Let's see. Yeah. I guess I'll start like way back at the beginning. This idea originally came about from a game design contest on the Something Awful forums. It was basically a game jam, but we just didn't call them game jams for some fucking reason. I put it together. I put the original thing together in about a month. I believe I either won that contest or came close. Can't even remember anymore. But people seem to like it, so I decided to make an actual game out of it. That went pretty well. That was the first Kickstarter I ever posted. It got 15 grand US, which was about 3 times more than I needed. Actually, like a lot more than 3 times what I needed, and I did not expect to get that much. Uh, so that went okay. We ended up adding a few extra stretch goals for expansion books. We got the core book out. So far, we got the core book, a couple of the expansions, and which are each like very small compared to the main thing. But yeah, we got the first two out, and we're working on a few more after that,
Yeah, and
which I believe is what we're going to be talking about today.
yeah,
Put that back. So there you go.
yeah. So I guess the big and obvious question is what happened to the rest of the books?
Yeah. Okay. So originally, because that was my first Kickstarter, I did not. I kind of underestimated how much extra work the stretch goals would be, because like each one of these has, if I pull this open, each one of these has some new setting stuff, a bunch of well, this one adds like technically some new rules to the game with like factions and that kind of thing, and then a bunch of different you know characters and so on. I underestimated how much partly writing, but also like art and other work that would take. So and also I underestimated the budget. I believe each one costs like a little bit more than I thought it would. It wasn't that much, but then like over several expansions, they just kind of add up. And essentially, what happened was before we finished all of those, I ran out of budget. Let's see. I still plan to do as many of them as possible, but because we're out of budget, I have to also like do other things so I can have money, and that's ended up dragging out the process quite a bit, I think.
Right, other things like the Breakfast Called visual novel and
Yeah, the Breakfast Club visual novel. That one's a funny one. So the original plan was that one. Let's see. Trying to figure out when we first planned that. It feels like 2017 or whatever.
somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. So we were experimenting with like some things that I could do to make a bit of money and then put that back into Breakfast Cult. Probably just jumping ahead a bit. The last Kickstarter I did, Hardwired Island, ended up putting a bunch of money from that into Breakfast Cult. That's actually worked out pretty well, probably better than the visual novel. The thing with the visual novel is the plan with that is to make a pretty good game that Breakfast Cult fans might want to play. And then that will help, that'll make me a bit of money, but also fund development of these things. That is actually going weird compared to how I expected it to go. The Kickstarter did not fund, but Hiveworks, the webcomic publisher, they were interested in picking it up, which they have. And so we're still working on that. But with the way we're doing it with Hiveworks, because it's not a Kickstarter, they're just funding development directly. I am going to be waiting until the visual novel is done and out there to be able to start putting some funds into Breakfast Cult, which is fine for me, at least. Like, it's kind of working out okay. Development on that, just to give you like a rough idea, my part is all done. Like, the script's done. The programming's almost done. The main things that need to go in there are like UI stuff that someone else is doing. We're mostly waiting on art at the moment, so I'm just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for that.
Yeah, such is life. Art, good art, it can be rushed, but probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I backed this. Just, for the sake of our viewers, I backed this like 5 years ago and get the emails every 3 or so months, which I do appreciate. I do want to say that's
one thing I've noticed, just if people tend to be less mad at you if you just tell them what's up, more or less.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I was never a little bit salty about it, but
that's okay. I'm a little bit salty about it too, if I'm honest. So I pulled up the Kickstarter on my other monitor just to double check I've got my dates right. And, it's bright.
Yeah, it doesn't say when it finished funding or when it started funding.
It does if you scroll all the way down in the update section, which I'm doing.
Oh, right, all the way through the 80-some posts, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, again, just regular updates, can turn a lot of...
funded. Oh, it's right at the end of 2014, actually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Feels like another lifetime.
Yeah. Some stuff happened in the meantime. Some shit.
Yeah. So, you've got the first few, like, you've got the expansions that we covered out. What's the status on, like, what's left? Like, what is and isn't?
Okay, so... Oh, man, I'm going to have to pull up the actual list of what's going on now.
Yeah, I know you wrote a list. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you recap it.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to set up my two monitors. So I'm trying to set up this monitor so I can see everything on this one and not put an incredibly bright screen up here. So I'm trying to... Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially there was a bunch of like small books. There was... Let's see. The Lovecraft one we talked about. There was a second Lovecraft one, which in hindsight I probably wanted to just include in this one. This game-themed one, there was a couple about cults, ancient ones like the antagonists, and then a few that were based on like mythology stuff. You know what I mean? Those ones are in like a slightly weird spot where in hindsight, I've become a little bit less comfortable with making stuff based on like mythology from other countries. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I'll talk about what I'm doing at that in a minute. But once I've posted way too many updates, and because at some point I posted the whole list of stuff that's been worked on, then I said I'm not going to post this again for a while. No one wants to see this over and over. And then I just kind of forgot where I put it. All right, I found it. Okay, so apart from the mythology ones, there was one about magical girls, which is probably... I've got some... That's probably like the least ready one, but for reasons I'll go into in a minute. There was one that was just to more NPCs, one that had a few alternate settings, and also a pre-made campaign but that one I think I mentioned a while ago. That was being written by someone else, and they've since quit writing tabletop games completely. So
Yeah, happens
yeah,
unfortunately.
I guess that's not happening. Overall, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 10 more to go if I actually stick to the original plan, which I'm not going to. I believe I've gone over some of this before, but first, like to give you an overview thing. Before we ran low on the budget, I decided to like try to plan ahead and get a bunch of art done for the upcoming expansions, so that once I started working on them, I'd have the art ready to go. Because that kind of made sense to me at the time. It still does make sense to me, but what it also means is that I have like several things which I have most of the art for, and then I've got to figure out like the cover or a picture of some guy or just some other stuff. I had like a lot of art pieces that I've just been sitting on for a long time, waiting for waiting for the book to finish, I
Yeah,
suppose.
and you paid for the van, so you got to use it.
Yeah, pretty much. Some of them are a bit odd. I think I've mentioned. So the one that was, it had a few different alternate settings, right? What I decided to do was I'd get a bunch of different artists, and I get each artist to do a different one of those 4 settings, I think.
Yeah.
One of them just like dropped off the face of the earth like halfway through. So I don't know what to do there. Like, do I use the art and then get someone else to finish it, or do I start over, which costs more money but looks more consistent? It's weird. I don't know, but essentially the plan at the moment is the next 2 that are coming out. The cult one, the one about cults, which is called Terrible Friends. That one is like, that has the cover, that has the art, that has most of the writing. It would have all of the writing, but like at some point last year, someone went up to me and said, "Oh man, you know what would be really good to have in this book?" And I thought, "Ah, shit, that's a really good idea. I should do that." And then now I've pretended that was my idea all along. So I'm just kind of tacking that onto the end as I have time. I'm waiting for, I think, a bit of art for that and one large art piece for the interior of the book. At the moment, the plan is to finish the current projects I'm working on, Hardwired Island, and then just bang that out. After that, let's see. The one after that, it's called Outer Science. That was the one for Ancient Ones, like the cosmic god antagonist of the setting, all of that. That one is totally done with the art. I'm sure I've mentioned this on the Kickstarter, but the guy who does the Ancient One art, Olav or Seleucius, I think his Twitter handle is. He is a machine. It's great. Like, I will say, here is like a massive art piece that I need of like this god, and it needs to look all scary, and here's all these like magical effects it needs to have, and here's all this other weird stuff I want you to include in the piece. And he'll, like a few days later, he'll just be like, "Yeah, here you go. This took an hour and a half." I don't know how he does it.
Good lord.
It's like wizardry or something. Like, I'll just let me get out one of the Ancient One pieces just to be clear of what we're talking about here. This guy, like, he does like these weird abstract pieces for the Ancient Ones. It's like that. Nice. This virus thing. This one, I really like this one because, like, I'm gonna tell you a secret actually. So I'm gonna quickly pop open the Lovecraft book. Oh wait, so this is actually this one. There's several copies out there in the wild that have printed wrong. All the pages are like one off. That's great. I love it. But basically, this his take on the deep ones.
Oh yeah.
And this Ancient One might start to notice some similarities. That's because this is actually just he fucked up the picture at some point by mistake, and then he said, "This actually looks pretty cool. I'm going to send it to Ettin and see what he thinks." And then I used it. It's great. Anyway, what we're doing with Outer Science, that one's going to take slightly longer because essentially the solution that I came up with for all of these stretch goals is first, all of the stuff that I mentioned I'm not like super comfortable with doing anymore. I'm just going to slash it. Everything else, I'm just going to take it and fold it into other stuff. So I had a bunch of ancient ones drawn up for the mythology books, for the Lovecraft one, for the cult thing, I think. Anyway, all of that is just going to go into Outer Science, and it's just going to be like a slightly larger book of cosmic horrors. And because I've got all the art for all of those, all I need to do is just kind of,
Right.
finish that up and then send it in. So that's the next two. Let's see after that. So I'm looking at the list and trying to forget. I'm also not doing any of these in the order that I said I would. It's great. The other Lovecraft one, I might just fold that into other books, although I'm kind of thinking about doing it anyway, just because I called it The Field Trip of Unknown Kadath, and I just really like that title. The current plan essentially is to just, after those two stretch goals that I mentioned, make one more expansion that's a little bit bigger than these things, and just packs like the characters and the monsters, and basically like anything that I'm not already packing into Outer Science, I would just like pack into this one thing and just be like, there you go.
There it is. It's the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, before we get into the what I think will be probably the most I guess controversial one, why don't you tell me a little bit about what happened with the magical girl one?
The Magical Girl one is a bit odd, I suppose. That one, essentially, what's mostly happened with it is, for various reasons, the art ended up getting pushed to the end of the queue. So I ended up pushing the writing to the end of the queue, which is funny because that one I also got, I'm uh,
I can get
I'm trying to think of the name, but actually I commissioned some work for that one, and that all of the commissioned work is in there. So that's got like everything it needs from that other people, except for the art, and then I need to do my part. What's also happening is I keep flip flopping on. I keep feeling like maybe what the solution for that one is like it's like I have a concept for that. It works really well. I really like it, but maybe it would work better if I turned it into a standalone game rather than like just a thin expansion pack for this other one. And I think it would work really well there. That might necessitate turning it into another Kickstarter, which is probably fine with me, really, except that there are backers who got like to add a character to that thing. And even though most of them are my mates, and I know they don't really care, I just think I don't know. I don't know.
yeah,
Might be a bit weird.
it's complicated, and
Yeah.
as somebody who did back the first one, I might be a little bit miffed to see another Kickstarter for the thing that I
Yeah. That's,
wanted in the
that's the
first.
other thing. It depends.
Yeah,
I think with Star Power it might be okay, because what I'm thinking is not just here is the stretch goal that I said I would do last time, but more like here is a larger treatment for the setting than I could provide through the Kickstarter.
yeah, and
But
that would
that said, I mean, one other thing. Okay, so jump like backing up / going off on a tangent, but this is going to loop back to the original thing, I swear. With Dimension Cross, the alternate setting one thing I've been thinking of doing is just I could theoretically just instead of doing one large book, I could do like a smaller book for one setting, release that, make another book for the next setting, release that, and just do them like as separate things rather than this one large thing. Does that make sense?
right, yeah,
Because I think that would actually work out pretty well, because I could also do a couple of things like, I'd basically be making them small standalone Fate games.
yeah.
I could give them their own little mechanics and that kind of thing. I'm thinking of doing also one of those with Star Power, and then if I feel like doing the larger treatment, I could say, okay, now the thing that I gave you before, the smaller version, is now a demo for the larger version.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Right, or
Yeah,
this is like the expanded sequel, the HD re-release.
yeah, kind of. Although I don't know if I want to do an HD re-release of Breakfast Club, to be honest. But yeah,
So this is probably going to be the most contentious one of these, but what's going to happen with the mythology books?
okay. So uh, I'm just gonna list which ones they were first. Uh, Japanese mythology one, which is like the big anime weeaboo one, I guess. One for Chinese mythology, which I was doing with the help of the I guess the official term would be consultant, but it's a friend of mine who knows this stuff basically. So I'm not sure how consultancy it is. And the other one was Mesoamerican mythology, I suppose. That one's actually based on on like a campaign that I ran like years ago that eventually led to Breakfast Club. Long story, but essentially, what's happening with those is ancient ones got the art for those. They go in the art of science, and the characters. I've actually got art for most of them. Like most of the NPCs that I've posted as like art on Kickstarter that haven't been in the books yet are for those books. They are going to get folded into like some other less mythology specific work. Everything else with that, it's mostly monsters and a couple of minor things. Like there were a couple of like factions in the mythology one, that sort of thing. Everything that I'm still fine with doing gets folded into something else, essentially. The to be a bit clearer about the plan, it's like most of these would get folded into like one expansion called occult art project, and that would just hold everything that isn't in Terrible Friends or Outer Science, because those two are already like almost done enough that at this point I would have to like tear down all everything that's in them and then like redo it for this new book if I wanted to fold them in. I just can't be bothered. I've got like the covers and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
layout's hard. I know. I've seen a lot of
yeah,
layouts in the industry, and yeah, well, I wouldn't want to do that twice.
yeah. So essentially most of what would be cut is a few of like the monsters and that sort of thing. A few setting things because there's some setting. I in the core book, the setting, like the broader world outside the setting of the high school, is like a little bit vague, and then some of the expansion books have expanded on that a little bit. And these would have occult art projects would still expand on it a little bit, but there's just some stuff that I think probably best to leave.
Some stuff that may have looked good at the time, but it's been 6 years. The world's a bit of a different
Oh yeah, it's
place.
not so much that as it is that I am no longer sure that like as a white guy I could give it like a proper treatment. Like I would probably this is something I would probably pay somebody else to do. And since the main problem with the Breakfast Club Kickstarter is the budget, I'm not going to do that. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's completely understandable. Kind of what I was alluding to with the world has changed. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, yeah, there's people. We're a lot more sensitive about that, and that's probably a very good thing.
Although there is some stuff in the Japan mythology one that is probably going in there just because it's technically it's I am writing it, but for that one I have a friend Chiaki. She is an editor at Anime Feminist. If you know that website now,
Not familiar, but the name kind of.
uh, she's done consulting on several of my games, and essentially what she does is like I will tell her like what I want to write about, and then she will go do some like actual research on it, and then send me a white paper on it, and it's a lot of work, and I am probably going to use that just because it would be a bit shitty to say, hey, thanks for the stuff. I'm not going to use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I got you. It's again the we paid for the van, we're gonna use it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, yeah. So if you could go back to the head of year of 2014, um, Barack Obama's president. I don't remember anything else about 2014. What would you say
Yeah,
to yourself? Or, wait,
probably just fewer stretch goals. Honestly, that's it.
also neither of us are American, so I don't know why I'm going with Barack Obama.
Yeah. Who was like? It's hard to figure out who was Australian Prime Minister back then because we
Yeah, that was
there was a
the
period of time where we just kind of like knifed them
yeah, it was like
constantly.
6 weeks, like every 6 weeks or so for a bit there. Um,
Yeah, pretty much.
would that be Tony Abbott or was that after that?
It was Tony Abbott. I think he got like 2 years in there. Yep, 2013 to 2015. So he was knifed like the year up, the very next year.
And I think that would have been Stephen Harper up here, maybe. I don't
That's
know.
yeah, that seems
Yeah,
to make sense.
yeah. The only prime minister I've ever met in person, but that's not relevant right now. Yes, the head
Uh,
year
it,
2000.
um,
Sorry, go ahead.
essentially, so I mean, like the core book is done. Like overall, I think the Kickstarter has been more or less okay. I guess it worked out pretty well. We got a good game out of it. It's actually been pretty popular. Like I got like a lot of sales, enough to help fund more of the stuff. I would have just cut some of the stretch goals. It's
Yeah,
pretty much all I changed. You probably noticed on like future Kickstarters that I've worked on or that I've like advised other people on. It's just stretch goals. I've they just put more stuff into the core book, or they're just not fucking there.
yeah. It's this was like early in Kickstarter's kind of like existence, not super early, but still when people are kind of feeling out the space, and everybody loves
Yeah,
stretch goals. Yeah,
yeah, and also I didn't have lot of experience with them myself, so I got advice from like my friends who had done Kickstarters. I'm not going to blame them because basically they encouraged me to add stretch goals, but on the other hand, I listened to them. That was probably the part where it went wrong. Uh, and also, like I was the one who calculated the budgets for these things, and I kind of I kind of underestimated
yeah.
a few things.
Which is
There were
probably
also
the
some
sorry, good.
like some costs that just came up later on that I didn't really plan for. That sort of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Um,
I suppose that would be another thing that I would say. Since then, I've heard the advice that what you should do is you should figure out how much money you will need from Kickstarter, and then just like add at least 50% of that, maybe double it if you can.
yeah, yeah. You see a lot of projects with like worryingly small budgets now and again.
Yeah. Or sometimes they're like, here is the main target, and then as a stretch goal, we'll make the game that we were planning to. Just why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, why not just make the game?
Just use the higher target.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
weirdest ones I've seen is when they have like a stretch goal layout, but there are goals that are under the funding goal, and it's like, what? You don't get
Yeah.
the money if you don't fund, right? Like,
Yeah. Like, is it meant to be like here's what we're doing with the money, or I just don't get it?
I if it's laid out in the stretch goal thing, it doesn't give that impression. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
pie charts are fine. You could just do pie charts. We all like pie charts.
Yeah. I never do like actual charts just because the amount that I plan to budget for it never turns out to be the amount that I spend on it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So if I do a pie chart, I'm just lying to people. So instead, I just go, here's what we're spending it on, blah, blah, blah. Here's the risks involved, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and a good risk section is really important. A few
Yeah.
things scare me off a project like there are no risks involved.
Yeah. I mean, I feel a bit weird about risks and challenges sections of Kickstarter because it's it's less about explaining what the risks and challenges are and more kind of like it's kind of like the Kickstarter version of a DPS check. Like, do you have the foresight to have a look at what other people wrote in their risk and challenges section and just do that? Like, 'cause that's like you could literally just copy paste something and change a few words, and most people will be like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." But like, if you can't even think it through enough to actually put some actual risks in the risks and challenges section, that's like a red flag,
Yeah, it comes off kind of like the what would you say your greatest weakness is thing in an interview, You get like three
Yeah,
answers and you don't know if they're actually true.
yeah.
Um,
And like with tabletop, most of the risks and challenges are the same. You might go over budget, you might get hit by a car, you might take longer than you expect. There might be like posting slash shipping slash coronavirus delays. And that's basically it.
an artist might disappear off the face of the earth. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think he plays piano somewhere now. I don't know what's going on with that guy.
That's better than I've heard from some people where like an artist has just straight up vanished, like deleted all their accounts everywhere, never hear from them again.
Yeah, I don't know what happens there. I guess they
Artists, man.
found something more fun to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Went
The
back to their home planet.
So, anything else you'd like to, get out into the open, clear up, all that kind of stuff?
I'm not sure. Is there anything else that needs to be cleared up? I think we hit all of the notes.
I kind of covered all my concerns from the last
Yeah.
6 years.
Yeah, how are you feeling about it anyway? Like, did I make you feel a bit better?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I
Yeah.
was unlucky in this regard in that what I backed it for was the magical girl supplement and the mythology supplements and the summer adventure. And just like,
Yeah. So
oh.
you would be shit out of luck, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's been 5 years of like, Garm, another thing you wanted is canceled. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. That would suck. Okay. Well, to be fair, the mythology stuff is mostly going in there. I think mostly what wouldn't be in there is every one of these ends up having like a bit at the start where I like re-explain the setting, then like add a few extra like setting elements or
Yeah.
whatever, and just
And I get
I'm
that.
just gonna be like, yeah, fuck that. Let's get to the characters and the monsters. Let's do it.
Yeah, and
Straight in there.
you don't wanna write like accidentally write the Fate version of like Oriental Adventures or something. Like I understand
Oh
and respect
yeah,
that. Yeah. Um.
yeah. I know I really want to make fun of Legend of the Five Rings right now, but I shouldn't. I play it.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, I make fun of D&D 5e all the time, and I play it more than I should.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Let's see what else is there. I guess should I be sharing some Kickstarter tips? I don't know.
Yes, that would be.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, first, one thing I can think of InDesign. InDesign is a fun one. There was a point where I got InDesign for free because I was a student, and I got so much more work done because the process with I'm pretty sure I've said that word like in two different ways now. The way that Chris, like the layout guy, and I do this is like I will write a bunch of stuff and I'll send it to him and I'll be like, hey, put this in your layout, and he'll just shove it in there and send it back, and I'll be like, okay, here's a list of the 300 wet typos that I've made and all of this other stuff that fucked up. Can you fix that? And then we'll just go back and forth over and over. And he doesn't usually like on his break at work where he does like InDesign stuff for a living, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, at one point I got InDesign, so I can just fix all of these things myself and make it look really good. And then in the end, I send it back to him and be like, hey, can you put the images in this, please? It works out really well until you stop being a student, and then Adobe is like, please give me $40 to use InDesign for a month.
Yeah.
So
I was with you until for a month, and oof.
Oh yeah, in Adobe products, they are subscription based. They actually jacked up their prices recently, I'm pretty sure, or at least they did before the pandemic.
That's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Occasionally they give you like a month free trial, or what you can do sometimes is you sign up for a month, and then when you go to cancel, they're like, please don't cancel, we'll give you a free month, and then you take the free month and then you cancel. Yeah. So there have been a couple of months where I did stuff other than Breakfast Cult just because I didn't feel like paying the subscription this month. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I've actually got another trial of them right now, so I'll get back into it soon.
I like that. That's a horrifying state of existence.
Yeah, actually, also for future stuff, I'm either just paying somebody else to do the whole thing in InDesign for me and not worry about it, or Affinity Publisher, which is like a one-off payment, and then you just get the program forever, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Works out well. Okay, so Kickstarter tips besides stretch goals. I think the main one is just like look at what other people did to be successful, and then actually like don't just copy it. Like think about why it was successful. Like I've seen Kickstarters that decided to do. They looked at the Fate Kickstarters and said, "I'll do what they do," but then they just kind of like copy the design of the headers and all of this other stuff, and
Yeah,
That's not why they were successful.
that's yeah, a little bit of a cargo cult marketing approach there. Yeah.
Yeah, like actually just like, look at stuff and think about why it worked for them, and then just find a way to do it that works for you. Especially because like every so often someone contacts me to say, "How did you make this much money off Kickstarter?" Especially with Hardwired Island, the recent one, where I was like, "Hey, here is a game. I'm not doing stretch goals for it," and they gave me like $40,000 for it. Like, okay, uh, but the advice for that one, like how I did it, is first have like two other Kickstarters, and then also spend 5 years making friends, right? And most people who ask me for tips, they're launching their Kickstarter next month, and they want tips for that, and I can't really help them.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
everybody's circumstances are going to be wildly different, and you kind of have to
yeah.
learn to leverage that.
Although I do say that the Breakfast Cult was like the first thing I posted, and then just yeah, it worked out really well.
Make a
And then,
Kickstarter that goes kind of okay, make one that goes better, and then make a really good one.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah, pretty much. Hmm. Yeah, but yeah, just look at what other people are doing, figure out what works for you. Also look at Kickstarters that failed,
Yeah, like the
because
coolest.
first,
Yeah,
usually you can see a bunch of people making complaints in the comments, and they'll tell you what they wanted to see or what they wanted to not see. And if you, for example, look at a bunch of failed Kickstarters and then realize that half of them had your idea, maybe you might consider doing a different idea that doesn't suck.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Look at like the coolest cooler, or like not only ones that didn't fun, but ones that failed in more
With
catastrophic ways.
tabletop ones, like tabletop Kickstarters, you get a lot that are like Cards Against Humanity, but with a twist. Um, Political game that's out of date by the time it ships. Cards Against Humanity, but it's political. A lot of card games that mostly involve insulting your friends for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or people who saw Exploding Kittens and didn't realize that the reason it succeeded was not because of the premise, but because the guy who made it is the fucking oatmeal guy.
yeah. I not shockingly, I check the new tabletop Kickstarters almost every day, given that this is kind of what I do. Um, the amount of times I just see like Cards Against Humanity, but it's just Cards Against Humanity is too many.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's been one successful Cards Against Humanity knockoff, I think. Crabs Adjust Humidity, which I've actually seen in game stores, weirdly enough.
Yeah, so
And
have I.
also, What Do You Meme? But just like, fuck that game.
Yeah, right. I see that at Walmart and
Yeah.
I hate it every time. It's
The guy who made it, like, his entire thing is he's a content thief. The
yeah,
game is just monetizing other people's content. Uh,
yeah. It's in like the most kind of weird, insulting, kind of bland. Yeah,
yeah, have you seen the Kickstarter video for that? It's great. Like, just this guy trying really hard to make it look like he's having fun playing this game, and then doing like this fun little dance about it, and he just looks dead inside the whole time.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen.
It's fantastic.
I haven't watched the video itself, but I have seen Retsupre's like commentary on it from
Yeah, I mean, Retsu Parade's commentary pretty much just includes the video, so yeah,
yeah.
you got the whole experience.
I miss those guys. I miss those guys so
Yeah,
bad, man.
yeah. Oh, let's see, what else is there that I can think of? Oh, fun fact: there was another Kickstarter that launched in the same year, which was a Fate Cthulhu game, and I've been tracking that one because it made a similar amount of money, and besides the high school stuff, the premise was similar. It's like cosmic horror Fate. That guy just never finished his game. He just never did it.
Oof.
It was weird. He eventually started posting about some other D&D knockoff he was making on like RPG Net, and then people asked him where the other game was, and he stopped posting.
Yeah, there's a few kind of infamous names out there where just like every time they pop up, it's just, hey, so where's the game, buddy?
Yeah, like big eyes, small mouth. Where's the
Yeah,
money?
I
Where's Jenna Moran's money?
I've
Where's her
actually
fucking?
I've interviewed him
Yeah.
about that, and we actually did go into what happened there and everything.
Yeah.
So
I like, on the one hand, I feel bad for the guy and how it turned out, but also on the other hand, like my understanding from that is that he basically just said, well, the company was the one that owed the money and they went bankrupt. So
it's it's a
and also
complicated legal thing
yeah, it's like
basically.
a massive clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And I mean, what can you do about it except I don't know, just
Yeah.
what if he made $100,000 and just paid a bunch of people money? Like
Uh
in theory that might work, but also like step one is make a preposterous amount of money, so it's probably not going to happen.
yeah, he actually does kind of get into that. I can shoot you a
Yeah,
link to that video if you're interested or
yeah, all
uh
right,
yeah.
sure.
But yeah, those things happen.
Yeah,
There have been some catastrophic tabletop game stories over the years.
yeah. I'm trying to think of other ones. Let's see.
West End Games having to burn a bunch of their stuff way back in the day. Um,
Yeah. Um, Far West, which is just people asking him to release the game for so long that it's just stopped being funny.
oh, I'm so glad I didn't back that because I remember looking at it and going, "This looks exactly up my alley."
Yeah,
uh, um,
yeah,
yeah,
pretty much.
it's been a wild ride in the tabletop industry. For not that I'm actually in the industry. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
fair enough.
here.
Did you when you backed? Did you back at a level to add stuff to the game? By the way, like, have I been?
Nope.
Okay, good. There's a
No.
guy that I've been meaning to message, but I never get around to it.
Yeah. No. I backed it $20 US.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was I
Oh,
was a I was broke then. I'm broker now. But you know.
fair enough. Oh yeah, so fun fact, the magical girl character in I'm gonna get the core book out. Do you remember the magical girl character in the core book?
Vaguely. It's been a long 6 years for my brain.
It was a backer character. A backer that started added to the book. You can tell because we added like these little stars that say "good job." Get it? Because it's a school game.
Hey.
And the magical girl character in the core book was this girl,
Nice,
and her
nice.
name was Laura Bailey. And neither of us knew who that was. Apparently, like
Oh god.
I just didn't really know the names of many voice actors. And then I don't know. I guess they're mostly into like virtual YouTubers and that kind of thing, so they probably just don't know the names of any English people. But no one's asked me about this ever. No one's been like, "Hey, is this person who is nothing like Laura Bailey meant to be Laura Bailey?" And the
Does
answer is no.
does she know?
I have no idea. I think we've just been coasting by on the fact that it's a really common name. Like, I'm sure there's like 100 people in the world named that, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not the most distinctive one, but yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, if I went and called somebody Michael Knowles, I think we'd have a problem. But or Matthew Mercer.
Yeah.
Oh god, that would be amazing though.
Oh, now you're
Oh
thinking about
man,
it, aren't you?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. What else? Future plans, maybe.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've started Hardwired Island. I am working on that. Uh, I wouldn't say that I'm crunching on it because I'm not CD Projekt Red, but that's taking up all of getting that out the door is taking up all of my time at the moment. 2020 has been a wild year. Actually,
Yeah.
that's one other thing I noticed. Most people who tends to worry about Kickstarters, like just in general, like this isn't just like people going up to me and being like, "Where's my fucking money?" But just in general, like people have been a lot more lenient on Kickstarters this year for reasons that I'm not entirely sure of.
I mean,
But, yeah,
I think it's empathy, which may
yeah,
sound weird if we're talking about the tabletop gaming community. I understand.
yeah. But anyway, essentially, we're trying to get that out this year, and then when that's done, I'm gonna hold off on Kickstarters for a bit. I think I got something that I might do in like summer next year. Your summer, not my summer. My summer is like
Yeah.
a month from now, but like your summer, which is my winter. There's something I might do there. Before that, I might do like a light novel because those are just very easy. I don't have to do math. I just said it's very easy, but it's going to turn out to be a lot of work. But essentially, I'm not doing any large projects anytime soon, so I'm going to make more time for Breakfast Cult and the visual novel and getting those out the door. One thing with that is when the visual novel goes out the door, people are probably going to start to want to get Breakfast Cult stuff. So that's more incentive to get this finished. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they pick up the core book, more money towards it and all that fun stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
so the message is: buy Breakfast Cult the Flamethrower, buy Breakfast Cult the Breakfast Cereal. Um,
Yeah. Don't have a flamethrower yet, but that'd be cool. I can't think of what else. I mentioned HD remasters earlier. I was thinking maybe as like a 10th anniversary thing, maybe, or if Hiveworks asks me to do it, because they might want like a book that looks a bit less crappy. Actually, I don't mind. I don't mind the look of the book. The look of the book, I think it's really good, except for why is this on the floor? I'm gonna watch this later on and then just like listen to the bang because I did not notice this hit the floor. There is actually I can just look at the cover. Yeah. One thing that's been bugging me is some of the art of one of the characters, Madoka, the girl in the wheelchair.
right.
The wheelchair is not the kind of wheelchair that people use like day to day because
Right.
they don't have handles.
Oh,
So I want to get
that's
yes.
now I'm never gonna be able to unsee that.
Yeah, so I'm one day I'll probably do a remaster just to get rid of that. That's the goal.
Yeah,
The visual it's fixed in the visual novel.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you could like bust out the fancy like embossed cover for the 10th anniversary.
Oh yeah. And maybe have you seen the new logo?
I don't
We've
think I
got a,
have.
we've got a new logo for the visual novel and it looks a lot nicer, I think. And it's also this one is a little bit tricky to put on things because it's a
Black and
detailed
white.
blood splatter.
Oh yeah,
That too.
yeah,
That too.
yeah.
But the new one can just work on a black background. I crushed something when I did that.
I'm sure it
It's
wasn't
fine.
too important. As long as it's not a cat, you're good.
Now we're fine.
I'm glad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that covers about all my questions.
Yeah. That's everything I can think of at the moment. I'm sure like the second we turn this off, I'll think of something else. But
Well, I'm gonna be awake for a few more hours, so.
yeah. Also, I guess mild apologies to the big eyes small mouth guy if he's watching.
To who, sorry?
To the big eyes small mouth guy.
Oh yeah,
I played so much of third edition. Like holy shit,
yeah.
years of big eyes small mouth.
I've played a couple of sessions of second edition. I actually have some of the books kicking around behind me. I had like the Centauri Knights book. They're like weird sci-fi setting. I ran some of that on
Nice.
our channel and ran some Demon Station Juku and the Sailor Moon one they did. And
Yeah.
I just really like licensed games. I'm not gonna lie.
Are they doing licensed ones now?
uh, so they're trying. They were one of the things in the Kickstarter was try to get an anime license, but there is no official news on that yet, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. Seems a bit tricky these days, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like how many people even want a tabletop adaptation of their thing?
Well, I mean, especially since there's tabletop adaptations in Japan on like the Fear system and stuff. So why would a publisher then, license it out to a Western studio on their engine, right?
Yeah, like most of the ones that I've seen are like just translations of Japanese ones, like Kamikakari,
Yeah,
for example.
yeah, um,
And that's not an adaptation; that's just a game. But yeah, it's translations seem to be easier to get out there
yeah.
these days.
Like I have a translation of the Log Horizon one on my computer, and I don't think I would then pick up Log Horizon Besom necessarily.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that I've run the Log Horizon Fear one, but it's not Fear. It's the other one. I don't remember. Sword World, maybe. I don't know.
Sword World sounds right.
Yeah, I know that's one of them. I don't know if it's the right one.
Tokyo Nova.
Tokyo Nova is its own like complete
Yeah,
thing,
that's a different thing.
and I would pay so much money to play Tokyo Nova, dude. Like, there's no full translation as far as I'm aware, but like it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, Japanese tabletop RPG scene is a really cool place, and I hope more of it gets translated.
I think it's very funny to me that most of them use D6s, and just because Dungeons and Dragons had a chance to take off there, and they didn't take it, so no one was really making or buying D20s over there. So they were just like, "Fuck it, let's just use D6s. Everyone's got those."
Yeah, exactly. Like, why get all the fancy polyhedral dice? What do they really add?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
and like, yeah, so that leaves a good marketplace for like Shadowrun and stuff like that, because that's. I think I played Shadowrun once. I might be wrong. this is where somebody tells me it's actually all D8s or something.
Um,
I think it's mostly D6s.
I'm not
Anyways,
sure.
yeah, Japanese
I,
game.
I've pl- I've played the video game version a lot more, so that's just what I'm thinking of now.
Yeah, I played a bit of that. It's good.
So one other thing, like, sorry, hold on. So when I say I'm thinking of doing like a bigger thing for Star Power, what I've been thinking about is Breakfast Cult is a game about going to an occult high school on a deserted island in the middle of the ocean. Well, it's not really deserted because you're on there, but it's like it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. But and then Star Power was going to be about just a bunch of magical girls who attend the school for various reasons. I mean, more or less the same reason that everyone attends the school. The people who run it want to collect everybody who can actually like use occult science at a young age and teach them to not kill themselves or each other with it before they actually turn into adults and cannot be stopped. And with magical girls, it's basically the same principle there. But to develop that concept, I would have to well, don't have to. I am exploring like what magical girls in this setting are like. And then as I've written that out, it started to occur to me that maybe if I'm exploring this, it might be more interesting to actually like write a game about magical girls actually like in this setting, fucking around the city, killing shit, or whatever else it is they do. You know?
Yeah, more on the like Madoka end of things than like Pretty
Yeah.
Cure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's more like Star Power as a Breakfast Cult expansion would be more about like these magical girls going to the Island Academy and then just like dragging all of their bullshit there. Whereas it might be more interesting to explore what the fuck they did before going to the academy, right?
Right. Trying
Yeah,
to evade the agents of Ocultar and not get killed by giant monsters.
yeah, more or less. Also, there was some stuff that I really hope someone other than me would be interested in about like how they might be end up getting sponsored by corporations or like monetized or how they would interact with law enforcement and all of this stuff. I know there's at least one guy who bought Breakfast Cult and did not expect it to be like anti-capitalist or anything like that at any point, and they've been a little bit salty about it, so they will be really salty about this. Yeah,
Evil corporations in my tabletop RPGs? Weird.
yeah. I mean, there's already one in freaking this.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like this one. There's actually like two different corporations in this. No, wait. Yeah, one of them was original in Breakfast Cult originally, like Sunrise Heavy Industries,
Right.
which I'm not actually sure if I can put them in the visual level because, like, here is an evil corporation named Sunrise, might not play super well in Japan. You know
That's
what I mean?
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But, this one, Arc Z, more or less. One very silly thing that I did in this one, which I'm gonna. There it is. In the history of this corporation, the guy who founded it, went back. Like when he retired, it said he retired to a wizard-free island, like one without any occult stuff on it, with his second wife Ashton. And then like the town that is near the academy on the island is called Ashton Junction. So the implication was meant to be that like this corporation actually was on this island first, and they might have like some extra facilities and stuff tucked away. And in hindsight, maybe I should have spelled that out. Yeah, it's a bit weird. But anyway, so with Star Power, what I've been thinking of doing, like one of the options is like do the small book that's like magical girls attending the school, and then take the larger book, which is like magical girls like elsewhere in the setting, and then make that a whole big thing, right?
Right. Tying the two
Yeah,
together, but not necessarily making them like.
yeah. And
Yeah.
if I did do that, I think the smaller one would be one of like the small like alternate setting books, which I think would probably work out okay for people.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel bad for you.
Oh, it's okay. I was gonna say
uh,
I found other good magical girl games since, but like I
Yeah.
found like one.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel better, the was there a specific mythology book that you were interested in?
The Mesoamerican one particularly.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that one mostly ended up being like down to the ancient ones, and I really need to hire a consultant to think about some monsters for that one. But basically, yeah, that one would mostly be in outer science, so that one would come soon, I hope.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that then. Um,
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Like what I'm basically saying at the moment is like it's difficult to write that kind of thing when about like a culture that you are not a part of. And then I think one of the ancient ones in the core book just takes the name of like a ancient empress that may or may not have existed. Like, yeah, okay, sure, fuck it, why not? Yeah.
yeah, it's not like she was using it.
Actually, I like that whole Yamatai. I think that one is like the one that's like in a city in another dimension that it's all fucked up.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that.
actual description in the book is a lot more spooky. But basically, the reason I'm okay with that is because, especially like when it gets expanded on, it becomes clear that most of the people who are screwing around with it are actually from other countries and they're just like adopting it. And because the thing I was doing there is the concept is essentially what if instead of the things Lovecraft was worried about happened, like the stuff that gets just inspired by Lovecraft. It's what if the stuff white people did to other people happened to Lovecraft, or like you know you know what I mean. So basically, all of Yamatai is basically like just metaphor for imperialism, more or less. It gets very subtle when you like look up all of the monsters, and then all of the code names for the monsters are like people who fucked up America when they first explored it.
Amazing. That's
Yeah,
that is some certified deep lore.
deep lore. Yeah, I should. Oh man, maybe I should do a deep lore book about Breakfast Cult sometime. I don't know.
Future Kickstarter. Future Kickstarter.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about any of that shit for
Yeah,
ages.
yeah, I hear you, man. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for coming on and talking about this. I know I feel a little bit more at ease with,
Yeah, no worries.
and
Yeah, oh man, I still can't believe you back through this stuff. Those specific things, it's great.
I know it is
I love it.
a tragedy. I've been doing Ghostbusters recently. I was like, man, I wish I had a book on like a bunch of Yaogwai or something, and I'm like, I should talk to Ettin.
Yeah.
It's just bad luck, you know. But
Yeah, all right.
thank you
Yeah,
very
I think
much
that's it.
for sorry.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Um
Yeah, all right.
thank you
Thanks for
very
having me on.
yeah, thanks for coming on and for everybody watching at
Yeah.
home. Have a good night.